Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for June 2nd, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni and Zena Keita. Coming up, the Pacers are going to the finals. We're going to react to their Game 6 win and the fallout from Pascal Siakam's conference finals MVP that he did not know existed. And we're going to look ahead to Game 1 between the Thunder and Pacers. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys. We have made it to the finals, the Pacers and the Thunder. It's the finals series that we all predicted, guys.
I mean, we were kind of close, you know.
We were close. We got one side of it pretty much.
Yeah, we got one side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just meant at the beginning of the year, we all saw the Pacers making the finals. Great run, right? For the Pacers. They beat the Knicks in 6, which all three of us predicted. A little bit of dumb luck there, by the way, because that Tyrese Halliburton bounce shot in Game 1 really sealed the deal for us, right? What do you guys feel about Game 6? A little bit of a dud for the Knicks, not quite the heroics that we saw in Game 5. But, you guys, what do you think?
I thought that the Knicks did a great job of finally trying something different at the end of this series. The last 2 games, you saw Tom Thibodeau go into his bench. I can't say Tom Thibodeau, which my gap is not letting me say that. Okay. In these last 2 games, you saw Thibbs go into his bench, use his depth to try and keep up with the pace of the Indiana Pacers, which is, it wasn't funny until I watched the game yesterday. And I think one of the announcers said, the pace of the Pacers. And I was like, I just never thought about that until right now. But anyways,
they should be mandated to play fast for the entirety of the existence of the franchise, right? Instead
of yes, sirs, they should be whatever. We don't need to get there.
I'm derailing us. I'm sorry. But I was impressed the fact that, you saw DeLon Wright, you saw Landry Shamet, you saw them early, and you saw a lot of Mitch Robinson before you saw Josh Hart. And I was like, okay, Tibbs, you're understanding that legs can run dead towards the end of games. Here we go. Let's get some breathing room between, the first quarter and the fourth quarter. But I also saw what we know to be true about the Indiana Pacers. And that is, remember last show, Dave, that I was on, I was talking about the snap of how Indiana runs. That was their saving bread. Every single time the ball went through the net or off the rim, Indiana was gone the other way. It was the Knicks didn't have time to react and set up their half-court defense. They thought they had time to jog back. And that was really, to me, one of the biggest difference makers. You look at Pascal Siakam, a lot of the shots and the buckets he was making wasn't in the half court. It was layup in transition. It was layup lines. It was offensive boards. I mean, this is how the Pacers beat the Knicks. It wasn't in these setup situations. It was in their pace.
You guys, I'm sure all three of us have done this at some point in time in our lives because we've played on basketball teams. Olympic drill. You guys know the Olympic drill, right? Yeah. That's how it feels like to play the Indiana Pacers, right? They are constantly running the Olympic drill. It's 3 dribbles or less for them to get from one side of the court to the other. We saw that in Game 6. I mean, like you said, Zena, blink of an eye, and they got downhill. I think 6 or 7 of Siakam's 10 buckets in that game were just layups or dunks in transition that made it easy. And most of them were off of Knicks makes, which is the very impressive part. It's we don't care that you actually made the shot. Whatever. It's all good. We're just going to keep pushing. It was incredible. I do agree that we saw the best version of the Pacers in that second half. But we also sort of saw the fatal flaw of the Knicks, which is your defense isn't good enough. Actually, I should say it like this. The offense isn't good enough to compensate for the fact that you aren't the greatest defensive team. Right. I think the synergy, and this is kind of looking forward to the summer and to the offseason and kind of what's going to happen with this Knicks team moving forward. It's the synergy between Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson needs to be better. They went away from the KAT Brunson pick and roll a lot through the second half of the season. And they need to find a way to incorporate their other guys offensively more and to optimize themselves spacing wise. Because their offense between the regular season, which was a top 5 offense, to the playoffs, I think it dropped off pretty significantly. It was Brunson ISO. It's KAT. You try to get downhill and create something.
It was less Mikal Bridges,
Tons
less
of,
OG Anunoby. Yeah.
So I just, that's why the Knicks lost this series, in my opinion. Their offense couldn't uplift them to match what the Pacers were doing.
Well, you can't keep up with what the Pacers do. When the Pacers are putting up, 1.3 points per possession, for extended periods, it's hard to keep up. They're like an avalanche to a certain extent. And the other thing is, the Knicks did look a little bit tired, I thought, even though they had tapped into the bench. It's like a little bit too late.
Right.
But let's finish talking Pacers, because I do want to swing back to the Knicks, because big article over at The Athletic. But the Pacers, Pascal Siakam wins Finals MVP. I think a lot of people assumed it would be Tyrese Halliburton. I'm not a lot of people. I assumed it would be Pascal Siakam because, I'll watch these games.
You've been on that train. I will credit you for that.
But I've watched these games, and Halliburton has certainly hit some amazing highs in this series, but Pascal Siakam has been steady, and not just steady. I mean, he's been great. He had a 40-point game, or 39, finishes up with 31. I mean, I just think that he was excellent two ways, right? Like offense and defense. Think about some of the defense that we saw him play on Karl Anthony Towns during this series. So, I mean, again, the conference finals MVP is just an award created for us to have debate.
Yeah, absolutely. and it would be wrong for us to not have this debate since, it's part of the job. But look, I could see the world in which, you say Halliburton is the engine that makes everything go for this Indiana Pacers team, right? Without him, they are not the type of team that they are. They're not playing the pace that they're playing at, all the type of things that you could talk about for a guy that they've built around over the last couple of seasons. But Siakam is what kind of allows them to, one, be as malleable and versatile as they are, and he uplifts them defensively to a different level, to your point, Dave. So I could see it going either way. I'm completely fine with the fact that Pascal won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Even he said it in his post game. He's like, man, I didn't even know this was an award. He won them game 2. He won them the final game in game 6. And I think it was just a testament to this being a really A1 trade from the Indiana Pacers perspective to add the cherry on top to what is a championship worthy roster.
Yeah, I think when you look at Pascal Siakam and you compare him as a two-man to Karl Anthony Towns, for example, look at the way in which Pascal Siakam changes the look of this Pacers team 100%. At any given point in the game versus what Karl Anthony Towns can do, right? It's so much more rigid in terms of the creativity that you can have around a KAT or a two-guy like KAT versus a Pascal that doesn't need the ball in his hands, that can literally change the way that you play just because he runs hard, because he goes up the floor hard. This is what Thibbs said, that he's a hard cover because of just how quick he is and how willing he is to be that for his team. And I think that's why a lot of folks looked at him and said, yeah, he deserves this. Yes, you can look at the stats. He averaged more points than, I think 24.8 points versus Tyrese being around the 20, 21 area. Exactly. And people, of course, think Tyrese Halliburton, as you mentioned, he was the galvanizer. He was the distributor. He's the one that's pushing the ball up the floor to be able to get these points for Pascal. But I also am looking at the timing in which Pascal provides what he provides. Particularly look at game 6. When that game started going in the first half of the first quarter and the Knicks started looking good, I mean, to the point that I was like, my Pacers in 6 look shaky. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
It was a Pascal 3 that shut it down.
He's the cooler, right? He cools off the other team.
He cooled it down. Exactly.
This is the thing about Pascal.
That's what I like about him.
I feel like he's always sort of been this guy. He was this guy in Toronto, right? Where he's the guy you think about second, sometimes third, but he always hits the big shot when you need it. And he can give you a post up when your offense is going nowhere. He can spot up from 3. He can shoot threes above the break, off the dribble. I mean, he can just score in every single way possible. But then Dave, he gives you high level defense on the other end.
That's why I think to Zena's point, he is the best, maybe one of the best number 2s we have because of how
he's a number
adaptable
1.
He is.
At least on this team, I think.
Right.
He's a number 1.
But I think it works that he's a number 2.
Yeah.
It works that he's not the first thought.
Right.
Exactly.
It works that he's not the first thought because he can be that under the defense, behind the defense, forgotten, trailing behind the defense person that you're like, oh, shoot, that's Pascal Siakam coming up after, to pull up 3 or shoot in the corner. That's why he's such a good two-man.
Yeah.
He takes advantage of the fact that he is not the first thought.
You guys think we're going to see Pascal at the 5? Oh, wait, let me save that for the the finals preview. He's just versatile too, right?
I'll just say this now. He's also, like, to your point, he's a changeup for the Pacers offensive system, because they can run and he can heighten that. But if things bog down, it's cool. Let's get Pascal a mismatch in the post. Let's get him a bucket. Yeah.
They got that Obi Toppin fastball off the bench. I mean, he was electric in the fourth quarter.
They're a good team, man. They're in the finals for a reason.
Okay, guys, real quick. One thing, top of your head, fix the Knicks this summer. I'll even go first, okay? I'm going to go first, and you're going to fix them by not doing something, okay? Everyone's saying you got to move on from Tom Thibodeau. I disagree. You can't upgrade on Tom Thibodeau. What you need is for Tom Thibodeau to embrace his newfound discovery of depth. Get him better players on that bench and let this man cook.
I'm with you.
Now, does he need help with the offense? Absolutely. Get an offensive coordinator. Joe Prunty is a great offensive mind if you're just looking for an assistant. There's a lot of people out there that know how to coach an offense. By all means, get one. But, man, Tom Thibodeau is the coach for this team. He just took the Knicks to their first conference. This is the best season that they've had since 73. Is that it? It's before I was born.
Well, you could still do the 1999, 2000. You know, they made the finals and conference finals.
But this team was better. I mean, come on. This was such a great season for them. I just think that, Tom Thibodeau deserves at least another season to try to build on this, but give him a bench.
Look, but wait, I feel like you're going to be different than what Dave is saying, so I'm just going to go ahead and just piggyback, because that's the same thing I thought. I thought you finally saw New York wake up at the end of this series and say, oh my God, there's more people available to us than the 5 that we've been running into the ground all season. And so find a way to just take this elucidation into next season. And let's keep it going, Knicks. All right, sorry, go ahead.
You know what? On the coaching front, I do agree with you guys, but I agree with you guys for a different reason. I agree in the sense that, like, okay, you let go of Tom Thibodeau. Who is coming in that door that's going to fix things? Who is out there? Like, give me a name, give me a tangible
People
coach.
Are saying Michael Malone, and Michael Malone is a very good coach, but so is Tom Thibodeau. I mean,
Thibodeau. Yeah, exactly.
There's not much different. Well,
and also Malone has some of the same issues with his rigidness in terms of playing young guys and all that type of stuff. That is something that's very similar to what Tom Thibodeau does. I want to just be a nerd a little bit here for a second and say I think the cap situation for them is interesting because they're in a situation where if you're trying to get depth, you're likely having to trade 1 or 2 of their core players. Maybe not the KAT and Brunson or OGs of the world, but maybe it's Josh Hart. Maybe it's Mitchell Robinson. Maybe it's a combination of both. Mikal Bridges is contract extension eligible. They just traded a million picks
because of all those picks.
Right. So do they pay him the max, assuming he's just obviously how much they paid for him?
Yeah.
Or do they try to move on from Bridges and try to add their depth that way? That is what's really interesting about this Knicks offseason. And also one more thing, guys. They made a Karl Anthony Towns trade 2 days before training camp.
Right.
Like they needed a season to just figure out who they were. And now they get a summer to also figure out how to optimize this thing. I think you need time in the NBA now.
Somebody's got to figure out a way for their 2 best players to play together. Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns right now, they basically play individual sports on offense.
Yeah.
And until those guys, and we saw a little bit, I do think in game 6, Brunson had some really nice passing moments in that game, a couple to KAT when KAT was cutting. So I don't know. Look, it's basketball and ultimately chemistry will win out. And I think just having a season under your belt is a good thing. But if they can get some more
maybe
guys.
less players only meetings, hopefully cut it down to at least 10.
By the way, go and read James Edwards and Fred Katz. As soon as the Knicks season was over, they had the inside exclusive on PJ Tucker hosting player only meetings. And the things that pulled this team together over the course of the last few months to make it to game 6 of the conference finals is a great read. I mean, I got up and read it first thing this morning. So highly recommend that. Guys, stick around after the break. We're going to look ahead to Thunder Pacers NBA Finals. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers are tipping off Thursday, June 5th. So we got a long time without any games, which means we're going to have wall-to-wall preview content. We're going to find a way to preview the halftime entertainment once we get that leaked to us. You know, we're going to be all over the NBA Finals. Es and I are actually going to go to the NBA Finals. We're going to be in Oklahoma City for Game 1. Zena is just far too busy with everything else.
WNBA, baby.
That's right. WNBA. Catch her on the Valkyries broadcast with the weird green screen. I mean, it's going to take some getting used to.
I'm not going to lie, though. It is funny to watch the green screen.
Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really feel, Dave.
It's funny. It's taking some getting used to, but the second broadcast I thought was much better than the first. It was much easier on my eyes because I was kind of ready for it. Anyway, I digress. Thunder Pacers, guys. I mean, look, we're going to have time to think about this week, but just initial thoughts on the matchup. Zena, if you want to go first. I mean, look, we've watched these teams all year. The Thunder have just been ridiculous, and the Pacers have really changed starting, I think, January 1st. You know, if I was pointing to just a date on the calendar off the top of my head. What's your first thought? I
have so many thoughts, but the
one
that came...
I'm kidding.
That's good. No, the first thought that comes to mind is I feel like this is going to be the series where we determine if you need a guy. And the reason why I say that is I look at the way that the Pacers closed out their series, and we literally just spent 5 minutes talking about the fact that Pascal Siakam as a number 2 ended up being the MVP of their Eastern Conference Finals. But look at the split in the voting. It was 5-4, Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam. Versus how Oklahoma City finished their series, and it was a clear decision that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the MVP of that conference finals. Now, I'm almost curious, what's more important, having a guy like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when your team's not doing well, not doing so hot, because these teams are going to be really well matched up against each other, or is it going to be more important to have guys? And that you have a Tyrese and a Pascal to kind of share the burden.
That.
Yeah.
So this is something that's going to be interesting to see how that manifests in this series, because these teams are perfectly matched to undo what the other does really well at. Indiana is a team that runs.
Yep.
Guess who's the best at transition defense? You know, the Thunder. So it's just like there's so many different layers to it.
Pacers don't turn it over.
Pacers don't turn
that's
over.
My
Who's
thing.
great? The best.
That's my thing.
Exactly.
Turnovers versus it's like unstoppable force versus an immovable object, in the sense that one team loves to force turnovers and the other does not turn the ball over and has the least turnover prone player in the NBA in Tyrese Halliburton, right? Like, that's fun. The other thing is ball pressure. We see both of these teams put tons of pressure on the ball. They're forcing you to chew a bunch of shot clock. So it's like Andrew Nembhard and his ball pressure against, SGA, and Aaron Nesmith doing the same thing. Hopefully that ankle feels better in a week. And then on the other side, Lou Dort and, Jalen Williams and SGA in their own right, pressuring Hallie, forcing him to pick up the ball a lot. So it's a really fun series because both of these teams have similar characteristics. They both like to run. They both like to pressure the ball. They both, on the whole star thing, which I think is a really interesting aspect to talk about here. Like, OKC has the guy, but they also have the guys. That's the reason.
That part too. That's the next part about it. Yep.
It's like they are so good because they also have the next level that they can hit. They have the depth and they have the star, which is why ultimately, like, we'll see who ends up winning the series. We'll do a prediction after. But you have to favor the team that has won 68 games and just actually 80 games before the NBA Finals, which only 4 other teams have done. It's unreal.
I'm thinking about the coaching matchup, as I usually do.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Mark Daigneault, who right now, I mean, if you were to take a straw poll of NBA media, for sure, he's going to be one of the first 5 guys that comes up. That gets mentioned as like, this guy is a great coach right now. But Rick Carlisle has been a great coach for a long time. You think about the experience that he's got. Obviously, he won a finals, right? But he won a finals where it felt like the odds were stacked against his team. He found ways to win against that Miami Heat team that was loaded and was set up just to everyone assumed that they were going to win the title. And he figured out a way to beat them, even with Dirk being sick. And
shout out to the zone. Shout out JJ Barea.
Yep, so yep. I am very interested to see what curveballs that we get out of the coaches. This is where you throw everything you've got. This is where we saw the NBA break out a box and one to guard Steph Curry in the NBA finals. So we're going to see the kitchen sink from the coaching staffs of both teams. And these are like incredible coaching staffs. Think about some of the end of quarter, end of game plays that we've seen out of the Pacers just in the playoffs. So I just think that what we're going to see, this is the NBA at the highest level. There is I can't point to a single weakness for either team that I'm like, there's no reason as a basketball fan you shouldn't watch this. This isn't some fluky finals appearance for the Pacers, in my opinion. They follow up an Eastern Conference Finals run with an improved roster, better health, and an excellent run to the finals where they beat everyone in front of them. So, there's a lot of people that don't really watch the NBA that have these preconceived notions about what it's about. Both these teams play defense. Both of them move the ball on offense. It's just, it's awesome. This is going to be a great finals stylistically, especially for me, the basketball nerd guy. All right, guys. Time for our picks. The BetMGM pick of the week. Make a fast break for on-court action with a WNBA odds boost token. Use your token to get a bigger payout on a winning WNBA bet. Okay, Thunder Pacers. Who's winning? How many games?
Okay. So again, the Thunder are favorites here. And I right now think that people are discrediting the Indiana Pacers a little bit when it comes to the series. I do not think it's going to be a sweep. I actually don't even think it's going to be 5 games. I think it'll be OKC in 6. I think there is basketball gods are sort of with the Pacers here. They've pulled off some miraculous wins in these playoffs. They will get at least one miraculous win in these finals. There will be a game where OKC maybe doesn't shoot the ball that well and Indiana shoots the lights out. That's the second game. So I think OKC in 6. But also, I was just going to say, I don't think I'm going to lose in this series. I don't think I'm going to lose at all in this series. Either way, I'm winning. On either side, really. It does. I'm just saying, there's four Canadians, and there's an honorary Canadian in Pascal Siakam, but regardless, four Canadians that is tied for the most in an NBA Finals ever. Last year they did it too. So I don't lose either way, guys. I'm just saying I do not lose.
The ultimate homer. The Siakam thing doesn't swing you one way or the other.
It doesn't. No, because it's even. It's even.
This is a perfect opportunity to plug our YouTube, because if you're listening on the podcast, you're not getting the opportunity to see this incredibly well-fitted Canada jacket that Es just pulled out of his, I don't know, like it was just sitting to the side. It's always there. It's always on the back of his chair. We don't know. It's just been there.
I told you guys.
That's great.
Yes.
I was going to also say OKC in 6, but what's so funny? You did such a great job of telling me, like, hey, I might be underestimating the Pacers. And if we don't get a first half defense, like we saw the Pacers have in game 6, which was questionable. And also, Aaron Nesmith and that injury, like he is going to be a major factor. Nah, I'm going to go OKC in 5, baby.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to do it. Oh, wow.
She had us in the first half.
I did.
God, I really want to zag so bad, because I could sit and talk myself into the Pacers easily.
I could too.
The thing is, I can't talk myself out of the Thunder. They're too consistent. That's a machine.
That's how I feel.
I do think the Pacers are going to keep it competitive. Probably in every game. I want to go at least Thunder in 7, but it's probably going to be Thunder in 6. They're a juggernaut. And this Pacers team is really good. I think that this Pacers team set up for next year pretty well.
Yeah. Oh man. The East is wide open.
And it's going to be an easier path to the finals potentially, depending on what happens. So Thunder in 6. Feels a little boring to go that way, but the truth is, when you've won 80 games, getting to the finals, things have been a bit boring. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People can't find flaws in this team. And barring injuries, knocking on wood, I don't see new ones popping up at this level and this stage for the OKC Thunder. They feel very comfortable in these moments.
Yeah, this is basically
figured it out.
This is how you look at the the Thunder. If you're running up against them and you lose, you have to chalk it up to you went up against one of the best defensive teams of all time. You know, and you look back at that Denver series and like, ooh, wow, they were very, very close to being in this exact situation.
Yeah. If you're Denver, you're thinking, hey,
you're feeling good about
what?
yourself.
One or two pieces. Maybe we can do something. All right, guys, let us know who's going to win the finals. We've got time. We're going to ask you this 7 times this week. Yeah. And of course, S never loses because Canada well represented. That's going to do it for the show, folks. Thank you guys for listening. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Like this video. Leave us a comment. For Zena Keita and Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.